Once upon a time, in a bustling city filled with skyscrapers and constant noise, there lived a young artist named Emma. Emma had always been passionate about painting, and from a young age, she would spend hours creating vivid landscapes and intricate portraits. Her small apartment was filled with canvases, each telling a story of its own. Despite her talent, Emma struggled to make a name for herself in the competitive art world. She worked part-time jobs to make ends meet and often felt discouraged when her art didn't sell at local galleries. Her friends and family admired her work, but their words of encouragement weren't enough to dispel the doubts that crept into her mind. One evening, after a particularly tough day, Emma sat in her tiny studio, staring at a half-finished painting. She felt defeated and wondered if she should give up her dream of becoming a successful artist. As she pondered, she heard a soft knock on her door. It was Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly woman who lived down the hall. Mrs. Jenkins had always been kind to Emma, often bringing her homemade cookies and offering words of wisdom. "Hello, dear," Mrs. Jenkins said with a warm smile. "I saw your light on and thought I'd check on you." Emma managed a weak smile in return. "Hi, Mrs. Jenkins. I'm just having a hard time with this painting." Mrs. Jenkins walked over to the easel and examined the painting. "It's beautiful, Emma. You have such a gift." "Thank you," Emma replied, her voice tinged with doubt. "But sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. I'm not sure if I'm good enough." Mrs. Jenkins looked at Emma with kind, wise eyes. "You know, when I was younger, I wanted to be a writer. I wrote stories and poems, but I never had the courage to share them with anyone. I was always afraid they weren't good enough. But one day, I realized something important: if I don't believe in my own worth, no one else will." Emma listened intently, her curiosity piqued. "You see," Mrs. Jenkins continued, "your worth isn't determined by how many paintings you sell or how many people praise your work. Your worth comes from within. It's about recognizing the unique beauty and talent you possess and having the courage to share it with the world, regardless of the outcome." Emma nodded slowly, taking in Mrs. Jenkins' words. "But how do I find that courage?" Mrs. Jenkins smiled gently. "It starts with believing in yourself and your abilities. Every artist, every person, has moments of doubt. But it's in those moments that you must remind yourself of your passion and why you started in the first place. Keep creating, keep pushing forward, and remember that your worth is not measured by external validation but by the joy and fulfillment you find in your art." The next morning, Emma woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. She decided to finish her painting, not for anyone else, but for herself. She poured her heart and soul into every brushstroke, creating a piece that reflected her emotions and experiences. A few weeks later, Emma's work caught the eye of a renowned gallery owner. He was captivated by the raw emotion and talent displayed in her paintings and offered her a solo exhibition. The night of the exhibition, the gallery was filled with art enthusiasts, collectors, and critics. Emma stood nervously by her paintings, unsure of how they would be received. To her amazement, the response was overwhelmingly positive. People were moved by her work, and several pieces sold that very night. Emma realized that Mrs. Jenkins had been right all along. Her worth wasn't determined by others' opinions or the number of paintings she sold. It was about believing in herself and having the courage to share her unique vision with the world. As the evening drew to a close, Emma saw Mrs. Jenkins in the crowd. She walked over and hugged her tightly. "Thank you," Emma whispered. "For everything." Mrs. Jenkins smiled, her eyes twinkling. "You did this, Emma. You found your worth and shared it with the world. I'm so proud of you." From that day on, Emma continued to create, always remembering the lesson she had learned, knowing her worth meant believing in herself, embracing her talent, and never giving up on her dreams. And as she shared her art with the world, she inspired others to recognize and embrace their own worth as well. Let's learn some words from the story. Passionate. Meaning, having a strong feeling or interest in something. Example, John is passionate about cooking and loves to experiment with new recipes. Intricate portraits. Meaning, detailed and complex pictures of people, showing many small, precise elements and fine details. Example, Emma creates intricate portraits that capture every tiny feature of her subjects' faces. To make ends meet. Meaning, to earn just enough money to cover basic living expenses. Example, Emma worked part-time jobs to make ends meet while pursuing her art career. Admired. Meaning, looked at with respect and approval. Example, the students admired their teacher for her dedication and hard work. Crept. Meaning, moved slowly and quietly, often to sneak up on something. Example, the cat crept silently across the room, trying to catch the mouse. Easel. Meaning, a stand used by artists to hold a canvas while they paint. Example, the art teacher set up the easel in the front of the classroom for the demonstration. Tinged. Meaning, slightly colored or affected by a certain quality or emotion. Example, Emma's voice was tinged with doubt when she spoke about her art. Piqued. Meaning, stimulated interest or curiosity. Example, Emma listened intently, her curiosity piqued. Enthusiasts. Meaning, people who are very interested in and excited about something. Example, car enthusiasts gathered at the show to admire the latest models. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'd like to take you through a typical day in my life. Every morning, my alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m. sharp. I'll admit, I'm not a natural early riser, so it usually takes a minute or two of contemplating life before I finally muster the energy to turn off that buzzing noise. But once I'm up, I'm up. The first thing I do is head to the kitchen to brew a pot of coffee. There's something almost therapeutic about the routine, filling the kettle with water, grinding the beans, and watching as the rich, dark liquid fills the pot. The smell of freshly brewed coffee is like an invitation to wakefulness. I pour myself a cup, add a splash of milk, and sit by the window. This is my favorite part of the morning, watching the sunrise while I sip my coffee. The sky transitions from inky blue to soft pink and orange hues, and it feels like the world is slowly waking up with me. It's a moment of calm and clarity before the day begins. Around 7 a.m., I lace up my running shoes and head out for a jog. Running has become my morning ritual, a way to clear my mind and get my blood pumping. The neighborhood is peaceful at this hour, with just the occasional dog walker or fellow jogger passing by. I love the feeling of the cool morning air on my face and the rhythmic sound of my feet hitting the pavement. It's my moving meditation. By 7:45 a.m., I'm back home and ready for a quick shower. The hot water is a welcome contrast to the cool morning air, and it helps relax my muscles after the run. Afterward, I get dressed for the day. Since I work from home, my wardrobe is a mix of comfort and professionalism, a nice top paired with my favorite yoga pants. By 8:30 a.m., I'm seated at my desk in my home office. I start by checking my emails and planning out my tasks for the day. My workday officially kicks off at 9 a.m., and I dive into various projects and meetings. I work as a project manager for a marketing firm, so my days are a mix of coordinating with team members, brainstorming creative ideas, and ensuring everything stays on track. Lunchtime rolls around at 12:30 p.m., and I always make sure to take a proper break. I head to the kitchen and prepare a light salad, usually something with mixed greens, cherry tomatoes, avocado, and a bit of grilled chicken. I sit down with my lunch and watch an episode of whatever TV show I'm currently into. It's a great way to unwind and recharge for the afternoon. After lunch, it's back to work. The afternoons are usually quieter, allowing me to focus on deep work without too many interruptions. I tackle the more challenging tasks and make progress on longer-term projects. By 5 p.m., I'm ready to log off. I take a moment to review what I accomplished during the day and make a to-do list for tomorrow. This helps me transition out of work mode and feel a sense of completion. Evenings are my time to relax and enjoy. At around 6 p.m., I start preparing dinner. I love cooking and experimenting with new recipes. Tonight, it might be a simple pasta dish or a stir-fry with lots of fresh vegetables. Cooking is another form of relaxation for me, chopping, sautéing, and tasting as I go. After dinner, I like to take a leisurely walk around the neighborhood. The streets are quiet, and it's a perfect way to digest my meal and reflect on the day. Sometimes, I listen to a podcast or some music, but often I just enjoy the sounds of the evening. By 8 p.m., I'm back home and ready to unwind. I'll either curl up with a good book or watch a movie. It's my way of escaping into another world and letting go of any remaining stress from the day. As the clock approaches 10 p.m., I start my bedtime routine. I take a warm bath, which is incredibly soothing, and then follow my skincare regimen, cleansing, moisturizing, the whole works. Finally, I slip into bed, feeling a sense of accomplishment and peace. I reflect on the day, thinking about what went well and what I'm grateful for. It's a small but powerful habit that helps me maintain a positive mindset. As I drift off to sleep, I look forward to doing it all again tomorrow. And that's a day in my life. It's a blend of productivity and relaxation, and it brings a sense of balance that I truly cherish. Let's learn some words from this story. Contemplating. Meaning, thinking deeply about something. Example, she spent the afternoon contemplating her future career options. Therapeutic. Meaning, something that helps to heal or makes you feel better. Example, painting can be very therapeutic after a stressful day. Lace up. Meaning, to tie the laces of shoes or boots. Example, he sat down to lace up his running shoes before heading out for a jog. Rhythmic. meaning having a regular pattern or beat. Example, the rhythmic sound of the waves helped her fall asleep. Kick off, meaning to start something. Example, the meeting will kick off at 9 a.m. sharp. Leisurely, meaning unhurried, relaxed, or at a slow pace. Example, they took a leisurely stroll through the park. Curl up, meaning to sit or lie in a comfortable, cozy position. Example, she likes to curl up with a good book on rainy days. Regimen, meaning a plan or set of rules, usually involving diet, exercise, or therapy, to improve health. Example, his daily regimen includes a morning workout and a healthy breakfast. Drift off, meaning to gradually fall asleep. Example, she closed her eyes and drifted off while listening to soft music.